Hi and welcome to our final Facebook Live session for the year. I am joined by the wonderful Katie Costa from Rise High Financial Solutions.
Hi all.
She's one of our amazing brokers and also a fellow mum, so we thought it would be wonderful to share her expertise on our final Facebook Live for 2017, where we'll be talking about how to avoid a financial hangover through the Christmas and New Year period. We know that it's a very, very exciting time, Christmas time, and the New Year's upon us, and it's a lot of fun, which is obviously why we're wearing our silly Christmas hats today. We thought we'd have a little bit of fun with the topic, but it is also a serious topic. Research shows that 43% of Australians are using credit cards to fund their Christmas present purchases and do often have problems paying back that debt following Christmas. So we want to make sure that all of our clients will get through the happy and silly season without too much of a financial hangover. And today we will be sharing with you 8 tips on how you can make sure that you start 2018 on the right financial note.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that, it's not rocket science what we're going to sort of be going through today, but we just wanted to highlight some things that I think you can forget when you're caught up in the busyness of what's happening in the Christmas period. So
absolutely, it's good to have a reminder every now and then and just to, keep on top of these things. So we'll start with tip number 1. Now, tip number 1 is plan your Christmas shopping. The key word here being plan. So let's talk about that. So, Katie, do you have some suggestions on how people can plan for their Christmas shopping and how that might help in terms of managing their finances?
Yeah, I think it's you should never just hit the shops without thinking about what you're wanting to do first. Always write a list. Write the list of the people that you need to buy for, and then also have an idea of what it is that you actually think you might want to buy them before you get to the shops. Otherwise, you'll find yourself walking around spending money for the sake of spending money. You'll lose track of what you've spent on each person. And
actually, the research shows that Australians spend on average about $1,000 at Christmas time and have average credit card debts of about $1,700 after Christmas.
Yeah.
So that just stresses the importance of, if you can't afford to spend $1,000 and you can only afford to spend $600, then making sure that the plan that you're making is within your budget and that you're covering everyone that you need to cover and that you're working out. It probably can also help with impulse buys as well.
That's right. If you know how much you want to spend or how much you can spend, it makes it a bit easier.
It's pretty, I know even for myself, it's pretty easy when you're doing the Christmas shopping to get sucked in by the sales and the... and the hype of Christmas and thinking, I'll just add that little thing in the shopping basket. But
you only have to add $5 to everyone's thing that's over the limit of what you wanted to spend, and if you've got 10 people on your list, it doesn't take long and you've blown your budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's really good. The other tip, I guess, from the planning perspective is if you know who you need to buy for and what you're going to buy for each person, you can actually do a bit of internet research before you hit the shops.
Yep.
And that can sometimes help because you might be able to find out which shop has it on sale, or there might be, where you could buy it on the internet for a little bit cheaper and save a bit of money there. So
I think also I've noticed I've started doing a bit of my shopping and already there are things on sale. I think historically everyone waits for those sales after Christmas, but
I've certainly noticed more sales before Christmas.
Yeah, I sort of make it part of my aim to try not to pay full price for anything, try and get at least a little bit off. So there are sales on at the moment, so it's worth looking out for them.
Okay, so that was tip number 1. Plan your Christmas shopping, okay? Tip number 2 is establish some ground rules. Okay, so this is a really important one, and I think too many people get caught up with the gift of giving, and it is a season of giving and it is lovely to give, but sometimes it is helpful to have some ground rules, especially when it comes to other adults in your family.
I think sometimes people don't want to offend anyone. People worry, how much are they going to spend on me? I need to spend the same amount back, and it just means it snowballs out of control. Everyone ends up spending more than what they all want to. So the ground rules can really help. Just have the conversation up front with people so people know exactly what everyone else is doing for Christmas.
Absolutely. So some tips could be that if you're meeting with your family for Christmas, perhaps Christmas is just about the kids and you don't buy the other adults presents. Or if you do want to get the adults presents, perhaps it's just a Kris Kringle type arrangement, rather than getting, rather than having to buy every adult or every couple something.
Yeah, I think these days I mean, by the time we're all adults, we can go and buy our own things that we really do desperately want. So there's no need to be physically getting something from everyone in your family.
And it is more about the children as well.
That's right.
But even when it comes to the children, sometimes it's hard to know what to get children, nieces and nephews and cousins and, friends. And sometimes I think it's even helpful to talk to the parents and establish some ground rules of, roughly how much you're going to spend, or maybe what the children actually need, or what the children actually want.
Yeah.
And that can
sometimes
help
I think it can be good to give Christmas presents of things that they actually need rather than they might actually necessarily want it. But you might find that, I know from my kids, you think, I can't get them a school bag for Christmas because, it's something they need. But they get just as excited over new pencils and things like that.
Absolutely.
So why not make that part of their present? And it's actually something they need anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I know that in recent years myself, I've probably been a little bit more vocal with, my family members of what my kids would like at Christmas. And it's been a really good outcome for everyone because the kids get things that they really, really do want or really do need. And it's a lot easier on everyone else as well. And I think it's a good outcome.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably covers tip number 2, which is establish some ground rules. So I guess it's just having the courage to have that conversation with family and friends so that you don't feel obligated to spend beyond your limits.
Yeah, and setting the expectation, really.
Set the expectation with everyone that you're going to enjoy Christmas with. After all, whilst it's a season for giving, it really is a season for just spending time with loved ones, and that should be prioritised over and above gift giving.
Probably brings us to step number 3.
Yes, which is, Katie?
Focus on personal value rather than just dollar value. I think sometimes these days people get caught up in spending money but really a lot of times we can focus on things that the children might like to do. An actual activity or something like that.
Yeah, and sometimes homemade or handmade gifts can actually be more precious to the, to the person that's receiving the gift than, a gift voucher or something that you've spent money on. So sometimes it's about the thought, well, it always really is about the thought rather than the actual gift value. So, if your budget is a little bit tight this year, then perhaps be creative and step outside of your normal thought process. What can you do? Perhaps you can bake some biscuits or you can, make something.
Yeah, every year I always do a family calendar where I just literally, I'm usually a bit time poor, but I always have photos on my phone that I've taken of the kids. So I tend to just, every year, gets to this time of year, I actually literally did it the other night, that I just got all my photos off my phone of the kids, made it into a calendar that you can just do on one of the online apps. It's very, very easy.
And you can normally get Scoop-ons or Groupons.
Well, I think I paid, it was 3 for 1 price or something like that. Yeah, so there you go. Amazing. 3 gifts for all the grandparents and for the price of 1. So
and the grandparents would love that so much more than
absolutely.
Something that potentially could cost a lot more.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's more sentimental.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That is focus on personal value rather than dollar value. Probably the other tip that I had there actually, which I just forgot to mention, is sometimes it could be some gifts that I've seen in the past is like a DIY voucher.
Okay,
so it could be like for, you could offer to babysit.
Yeah, that's right. I know I'd like some of those if Mum's watching.
Or you could offer to have, someone over for a dinner or something like that. So I think, you can be a bit creative and have a bit of fun with it, and sometimes those things can be more valuable.
Could be like the kids could be giving Dad I'll wash the car for free type voucher or something like that. So you can even have it that the kids give the parents some sort of free gift as well.
Yeah. I know for Mother's Day, my kids gave me a voucher book, which was full of vouchers for free cuddles and free kisses and not fighting for a day. I have tried cashing in on that voucher, and that hasn't quite worked out for me. But, so far the other vouchers are going well. But I must say it was a really nice gift, and, sometimes things like that can have more of an impact than something that you can buy and wrap up.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so that was tip number 3, which was focus on personal value rather than dollar value. Now, for those of you who have just joined us, thank you so much for tuning in. You are watching the final Rise High Facebook Live for 2017. We will be back in 2018, but today we are focusing on how to avoid a financial hangover through the Christmas period, and I'm joined by the wonderful Katie from Rise High Financial Solutions. If you want to get involved in the conversation today, we'd love to hear from you. You can either leave a comment in the comment section of the Facebook Live, or you can email amanda@risehigh.com.au, and we'd love to hear from you and we'd love you to join the conversation. You may even have some tips yourself on how you can save money or get through this period without too much financial stress. So we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments if you've got some to add to the conversation. So let's get back to it. We've gone through the first 3 tips, which is plan your Christmas shopping, tip 1. Tip 2, establish some ground rules. And tip 3, focus on personal value rather than dollar value. So let's move on to tip 4. Katie?
Avoid the financial hangover of festive season events.
Yes, now festive season events can cause many
of
hangovers. Some of them good, some of them not so good, and some of them are a bit more long lasting, which is obviously the financial side of it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think the problem with the events that happen around Christmas is when people are looking to budget towards coming into Christmas, everyone obviously thinks, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of money on the presents. So that's what they, forward thinking, Christmas is coming up, I need $1,000 to be able to spend on presents. What they don't sort of factor in is that at this time of year, there are so many social events that you go to, and every single one of those costs money. So I think it's, that side of things doesn't get factored in.
That's
and
right.
It's
You've got Christmas markets, New Year's Eve parties.
Yeah, you are out more.
Tour Down Under coming up, the Fringe is coming up, Adelaide Festival. So
yeah, it's a very busy and expensive time of year.
And it's not only the ticket prices to go to these things, but it may also be having to take a plate, or it's also the cost of the alcohol. It could also be the cost of a new outfit that's a necessity. All of those babysitters, all of these things need to be taken into consideration. So, I mean, what would you suggest, Katie, in terms of helping people to get through
I think
these things?
Particularly with any event that you're going to, you really need to sort of make your decision. I know I've been guilty of it in the past where I've kind of gone, oh, look, I'll just drive and I'll see what happens, and then I drive and then I decide I have a drink or two, and then I'm stuck, I'll have to get a taxi, etc. Whereas if you actually really think about before you go, say, right, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get home? It's, there are cheaper ways than the last minute taxi these days. You've got your Ubers, you might have a family member that if you don't know, they might be going into town or something the same night. You might be able to decide, okay, we'll meet up at a certain time, share a taxi home, that sort of thing. But, it's about thinking about it before you go.
Thinking in advance and planning for it.
That's right, yeah.
And I think the other thing that's really important to say here is that you don't have to go to everything.
That's right.
You might feel like you're letting people down, or, but it is okay to say no to something. So perhaps if your budget is a bit tighter, be selective.
Absolutely.
And perhaps you don't have to go to every single event.
Yep.
And perhaps instead of getting the new dress or the new outfit, you maybe get an old one altered, or borrow one from a friend.
Particularly if you're going to things that are I think the problem with so many events this time of year, it can be quite often with the same people. So then you sort of worry, oh, it's probably because we're wearing the same thing. But swap around with someone else who might be going to a different event.
Absolutely, and you could accessorise it differently. And all sorts of things. And I guess the other thing is, if you are hosting the event yourself, don't be afraid to ask to share the load.
Absolutely.
Instead of feeling that you have to do all the catering yourself, feel free to ask people to bring a plate or bring a drink or something like that.
I think the problem is people sometimes they're too scared to ask that, or that they're embarrassed to say it. But the problem is, if you say to people, don't bring anything, they're going to bring something anyway. It's like I don't know, that ad that's went where they, you bring the chocolates because it's what to bring when you've been told not to bring anything. But all that means is that you end up having chocolate that you don't need.
Yeah.
So why not? If they're going to spend money, you might as well let them spend money on something that is actually going to contribute, and then it's something you don't have to pay for.
Yeah. That's right. So shout out to Richard, Ratna, Nani and Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you tuning in. And once again, we are talking about how to avoid a financial hangover during the Christmas festive season. We've just finished talking about tip number 4, which is avoid the financial hangover of festive season events. And so now we're going to be moving on to tip number 5, which is, I'll let Katie explain it.
Make room for the new by getting rid of the old.
Yes, I like the sound of that.
There's going to be a lot of new.
There's going to be a lot of new. So let's talk about that in a bit more detail, because it's got a really nice ring to it, I think.
Yeah.
Get rid of the old.
I think it's there's two parts to it. Obviously, if you've got children, particularly, they're going to get a lot of gifts at Christmas. Whether you might, as a parent, decide, okay, I don't want my children getting much this year, but they will. They'll get from family, from other friends, things like that. So
from Santa.
It can be Santa. It can be a good idea to speak with your kids and prepare for it. So basically say to them, okay, well, let's have a look at what you've got in your room that you don't play with anymore. There might be some toys they don't play with, there might be some clothes that don't fit them, and you sort of got two options. One is you could have a garage sale and sell them, or Gumtree, that is quite popular these days, but so get the kids involved with it. Otherwise, the other option is obviously giving to charity, and that can be a really good way to explain to your kids, there are other people out there that might not be getting as much on Christmas Day. So it can be a really nice thing to go through with the kids and explain to them that, we're not throwing your toys into the bin. We are literally giving them to someone else who may need them.
That is such a good point. And I think, it does teach your children, the value of giving, and it teaches them the meaning of Christmas. And I also think that there is merit in the garage sale as well, because you could get your kids involved in that and give them a bit of entrepreneurial spirit and teach them about that as well. And perhaps a combination of both. And along the lines of the garage sale, there's a lot of kids markets these days where you can get a stand for $20 and your kids can sell their old toys to other children. So there's so many different things you can do to, I guess, clear space for the new without having a house that feels really cluttered.
And which only adds to the hangover, I think, of the headache of Christmas afterwards.
It does, it's
more mess. More toys means
that's
more mess.
Right. And and it can help on the financial side of things, especially if you're able to sell a few items. And it's amazing what people buy on Gumtree. Things that you don't think can be sold actually can be.
I think, we've sort of focused on the kids' toys, but I think quite often there can be a lot of adult toys that they may have received, boxing bags and things like, treadmills, things like that.
Absolutely.
More grown-up toys that we think we're going to use, and then unfortunately they sit there and get dusty.
That's right.
So
that's right. So that was tip number 5, which was make room for the new by getting rid of the old. So now we're moving on to tip number 6, which is one of my favourite topics, taking advantage of the post-Christmas sales. I do like a bit of a bargain. That is the Greek in me, I would say. So let's talk a little bit about post-Christmas sales, because it is a good advantage, it's a good opportunity to get a bargain, but it's also a good opportunity to get sucked in and enhance the financial hangover. So let's just make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, I think one thing that's important to think about is if you are planning to hit the post-Christmas sales, you need to make sure you don't spend all your money before Christmas.
That's a very good point,
keep some back, because otherwise, like you said, it just means that it's just going to be added to the credit card. It's going to be more debt. And at the end of the day, if you get something on sale and then it goes on your credit card and you pay interest on that, you're going to end up paying more than full price for whatever it is that you purchase.
Absolutely. Well, that's true. That's a very good point if you have to use your credit card to do it. And I think another thing that really goes back to probably tip number 1 that we talked about, planning your Christmas shopping. I think it's equally important to plan what you're planning to purchase in the post-Christmas sales. So not actually going into them with just an open mind about buying anything that's on sale, but actually having a list of what you actually need, recording it in, I guess over the next few weeks. And so that when you go into the post-Christmas sales, you actually go looking for specific things and you're there on a mission. You just go and get what you need, and then you...
And I think it's a bit too late obviously for this year, but if you are able to keep some of that money after Christmas, it can be a really good idea to get started in the post-Christmas sales this year for your Christmas presents for next year.
Absolutely.
Because then that way you buy them on sale, you can put them away in the cupboard, and it's something you don't have to prepare for next year. Nice little surprise for yourself when you think, I've already got a gift for that person.
That's so true. Being able to pre-buy gifts over the course of the year rather than leaving it to the month of December can not only save you a lot of money on the purchases, but can also help to spread the burden over the course of the year rather than lumping it all into December. Now, obviously, it's too late for 2017, but it's a fantastic tip for 2018 and beyond. And, the post-Christmas sales often present an amazing opportunity to buy things like Christmas wrapping paper.
That's right.
And Christmas cards and Christmas decorations if you want to, add it to your Christmas decorations because they're often, less than 50%. So that's obviously the best time of year to do those things. So it's definitely good tips there, I think. So that was tip number 6, taking advantage of post-Christmas sales. Thank you very much to Emily, Jared and Sam for tuning in. We're really glad that you could join us today. We're hoping that you're getting some value out of our fun Christmas, how to avoid a financial hangover over the holiday season show. We are now moving on to tip number 7, which is surviving the school holidays with budget-friendly activities. Now,
this sort of goes a bit past Christmas now.
It does go a bit past Christmas, but I think it's all part of the happy season.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we've got the kids who have either just started school holidays or maybe just about to start school holidays at the end of this week. And they have, 6 to 7 weeks off, which is a fairly big chunk of time. Where obviously you need to budget entertainment.
And I think, as you mentioned before, particularly in Adelaide now, it goes past we've got Christmas, New Year, and then the school holidays till the end of January. But Adelaide now, we've got the Fringe Festival, we've got Clipsal, there's so many other things, that are happening, that happen even after that event. So you really want to try and make sure, you can stretch your money as far as you can, because the fun times seem to just continue into February and March now in Adelaide.
Yeah, but you know what I've noticed as a mum, I do love to get my kids out and about. I do love for them to experience things and to have some good fun in the holidays. But there are so many wonderful free or low cost activities in Adelaide.
Heaps,
and around the place. I mean, I've just, you get your local messenger, or there's some really good Facebook pages and groups that you can follow that actually just constantly promoting free events for kids. And there's a lot of street parties coming up which are free to attend. And yes, it does cost a fair bit of money to buy food and drinks at those events, but if you plan ahead and you take a little bit of a picnic, it doesn't necessarily have to be an expensive night out.
That's right.
There's always good opportunities, like there might be cinemas offering discounted ticket prices. Like I know the new Nova on Prospect Road, just down the road from us, is launching $5 movies all this week or something.
I think
tickets. There's always
if there's something you really want to go to, then sure, you might get your tickets early because you want to make sure that you can get to that event. But if it's sort of one of those things that you think, it'll be nice to go, but if we miss out, that's okay. It might be worth leaving it to the last minute, and you might find quite often that you can get to some really cheap things. I know I went with some friends last year to the tennis that was on here in Adelaide, and we just got some tickets at the last minute. We thought if we can get some, we can, and they were, I think, less than half price that we paid to get some great tickets. So sometimes it's worth just keeping an eye on things, and if you're not desperate to go, just leave it to the last minute.
And if the other thing is, there are a lot of things that you can initiate yourself that are low cost or free, like play dates with other friends, meeting in the park. There's lots of different things that you can do. So. But I think it comes back to what we've said in a couple of the other points, which is really about planning. Planning is just so crucial. Because if you plan the money that you've got available and you make sure that it can stretch the time period that it needs to stretch, then generally you won't find yourself feeling the strain following the post-Christmas period. So that's planning. So that was sort of summing up the survive school holidays with budget-friendly activities tip. Just a shout out to June, Rose and Sasha. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're getting some value. We are now moving on to our final tip for our Facebook Live session today. Which is, once again...
So looking ahead for 2018 and to next year's Christmas.
Once again about planning. Planning for 2018 and next Christmas is super important, and we've probably already said quite a few tips throughout the course of the session today that really fit under this topic, I think.
And I think too, like we were saying before about utilising the sales and things to buy Christmas presents early. Don't be afraid to get in there early and talk to family members straight up now, straight after Christmas, and say, okay, I want to know, are we doing Kris Kringle next year? Are we doing, sometimes people just need one person to take the initiative and get the ball rolling. And then that way you know straight away at the start of the year who you're going to have to buy for at the end of the year, and it just makes it so much easier.
And I think the other thing is, if you did find Christmas a bit of a struggle financially this year, then it is good to start saving early and to potentially put things on lay-by and pay them off gradually rather than putting them on your credit card. It does concern me that 18% of Australians actually struggle to pay off their credit card, their Christmas credit card debt within the 12 months that follows the Christmas period, which really worries me, because then they're basically just building Christmas on Christmas on Christmas onto their credit card, and it does become really difficult to get on top of. So I think the key element here is planning.
And I think, again, what we were saying before about, don't be afraid to say no and things like that. I mean, that's particularly if you're using your credit card, it's one of those things that have it front of mind, be aware of it, plan, but also be aware of what you're spending along the way. Don't sort of it can be easy to just jump from week to week and looking at your spending your pay and that sort of thing. But if you're also then utilising that credit card, get to the end of the Christmas period and you'll be stuck with a big bill to have to pay.
So that was planned for 2018 and next Christmas early on. So I'm just going to ask Katie to just quickly summarise the headings of the 8 tips that we've covered in the Facebook Live session today, and then I will wrap up with some news for 2018.
Okay, so the first one was plan your Christmas shopping. So plan really being in every one of those, but definitely straight up at the top is planning. So so again, that was just basically making sure you don't hit the shops without deciding what it is that you actually need to buy before you go.
Tip number 2 was
establish some ground rules.
Tip number 3 was
focus on personal value rather than on the dollar value of a present.
Tip number 4. Tip number 4, I'm ahead of myself.
Avoid the financial hangover of festive season events.
Tip number 5.
Make room for the new by getting rid of the old.
Tip number 6.
Take advantage of the post-Christmas sales.
Tip number 7.
Survive the school holidays with budget-friendly activities.
And tip number 8.
Plan for 2018 and for next year's Christmas.
You notice a bit of a theme. Plan. So look, we hope that you had as much fun with us today as we have had in this session, and we hope that you've got some value out of it as well. We really, really hope that all of our clients and supporters get through the festive season and really enjoy themselves and really make the most of what the festive season's all about, and we hope that you can achieve this without any financial stress or financial hangover, and we hope that today's session has helped you. We have lots more in store for you for 2018 with our Facebook Live sessions, and we have a great series of property seminars coming up in 2018 as well, which are already on our website, so you can go and check out the topics. You can already register for them, and we're really, really excited to bring you huge value in 2018, and we really, really appreciate all your support for 2017. You've been absolutely wonderful, and
it's been an amazing year for Rise High.
It's been an amazing year for Rise High, and we couldn't have done it without your support. So thank you so much. On behalf of Katie and myself and the Rise High team, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And we hope you have a happy new year.